Sweet. Okay. All right. So, I'll just have you introduce yourself first. That way everyone knows who you are. You're officially Firecrackers coach now. You got the cool
Yeah,
hat on today.
I
So
know.
if you want to just share your name, the organization, your team, how old they are, that would be awesome.
Yeah, my name's Rob Garduno. I'm the new 14U Firecracker coach out of the East Valley. Um, we have 13 girls established on the team right now, with aging from 12 years old as our younger player, who is a lefty pitcher for us, ranging all the way up to um, 4 girls who are playing high school softball right now, with
Mm-hmm.
3 of them playing varsity
Sweet.
their freshman
Okay.
year.
So with your team, what do you think is the number one thing what is the number one thing that your team struggles with the most on the mental side of the game? If you could pick one thing.
Is basically the confidence level. As a coach, you see that confidence in them, but they seem to struggle that they don't believe in themselves as much as a coach believes in them.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
and when you approach them on that and, tell them they have all the talent in the world, it's just really hard for them to be convinced that they really do have that talent. And that could be from a lot of things, from previous coaches or,
Mm-hmm.
parents maybe not having the best car rides on the way home. I don't know. But that's just my main thing is you see so much potential in so many young players, and they're just not believing in themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man, we could go into so much more conversation. I'm like thinking a bunch of
Yes.
things already, but I'll save it for our own personal calls. We could
Yes.
do like a whole podcast on this. Okay, so what made you want to bring your entire team to the Mind and Body Camp?
Well, to be honest with you, I did not have any knowledge of your camp until we received all the information from the Randy, and during the camp that they put on at Centennial High School, and just being part of the Firecrackers organization, having access for these camps it's really exciting.
Sweet. Awesome. I'm really, really grateful for Randy as well. I'm actually hopping on a call with him right after this.
Oh.
And then, so since the camp, has anything changed for your team? Because I know we had a little bit of a conversation and I was super excited to hear of these things. So I wanted to ask you, like, what are some changes, some things that you've seen, and some things that you've implemented since you've learned as a coach? What are some changes you've seen?
First of all, just the attitudes have been awesome. The girls have, when they came back from your camp, our first practice, they were just all, happiness and giggles, and just had a really fun practice. And it was just a very, very positive atmosphere that they were encouraging other team players, being positive with them. Actually, I forgot to tell you, I even had one of my girls tell one of her teammates during batting practice to get in your routine, breathe. So it shows that they're taking accountability amongst their own team players to show them what they're capable of from the camp they attended. One of the things that I basically incorporated into my practices, me as being the hitting coach, is that I found myself pretty much hitting into working on our techniques, working on separations, working into a launch, working this, getting from our stride into our launch position, working bat pass and all that, and launch angles. But the thing that I found the most interesting, what I incorporated is having the girls get in the routine, practice their breathing, slowing down their batting practice a little bit. And wow, I just noticed a lot different, just the way that they were hitting over our first practices when I started working this with the girls. For example, I know we didn't win our last week's tournament. It was our first tournament together as a Firecrackers team. And we went to the semifinals and played a very respectful team in the semis where, we lost by a couple runs where it could have went either way. But during that Sunday tournament, we were playing basically we weren't playing regulation, fence. And what is it, 225, I believe, to
Yeah.
over the fences. We were paying 235 fence with no temporary netting, and I had 5 girls hit the bottom of that fence and 1 hit the top, and it was just amazing. It was great to see them hit it the way that they were, and I could see that as a third base coach, they were slowing down their hitting. They were breathing. They were kind of looking on what was given to them by the defenses by breathing and getting into the box with more confidence.
That's so cool.
Yes.
What's like coming up for me like right away is, you know, whatever level is next, you know, whether that's, for some of those girls that's high school, for some of them it's, you know, becoming upperclassmen, for some of them it's, you know, going to the next to the college level. And something that I keep thinking about as you're saying this is that you know, the game starts to speed up, right? It starts to pick up as we get older, even from when you're 10 to 12, you know, then you have bigger ball, all these different changes in the speed of the game. And it can feel super overwhelming for some of those girls when things start to get a little bit fast. And for them to have some tools to slow it down, I feel like that's been a huge impact for your team, which is something I never really thought about until you brought up and you slowed things down with your team. So I thought that was really cool what you were able to take away and bring to your team. But that's awesome because I didn't even get to hear about the weekend. So
yeah, and it's funny because you think of so many times that you want to get in your drills and you're like, let's go, we want more cuts, but it's kind of, we're going towards a different direction now of mindset, routine, breathe, let's get in there.
Yeah,
you know, instead of more reps. It's a really, I'm really impressed with your program.
Thanks. Well, I'm excited for more, which is why I had you come on today, because I want to share with more girls, have bigger impact. But that's besides the point. There's a whole bunch of that. But have any of the girls shared anything or talked about what they've learned or like some big takeaways since we've left, or even like right after? I know you have a daughter on the team, so that one's an easy one, but just kind of what they've shown and they've seen, or maybe it's things that they've kind of picked out themselves, because that's always a big deal at that age. What did they get from this?
It's funny that you say that, but I forgot to speak with one of my players. Is while we were up to bat, I saw one of my players sitting at the end of the bench looking at her note cards that she took in your camp, and she was, you know, scrolling through the pages, putting her finger down the page, and she pointed something out. You could see she was pointing something out on the page. I never asked her what it was, but she went back to your camp to see what she needed to do to maybe, you know, be prepared for that next situation. It was pretty cool to see, and I will be doing follow-up speaking with her when we get to practice next Thursday.
Awesome. That's super cool. Yeah, and that was like, that's the whole thing about the mind and body camp, which I was actually a little bit nervous about, because, you know, I'm about practicing the mental tools consistently, because just like, you know, the physical game, we have to do a lot of reps in order to really understand something physically. And it's the same thing with the mental reps and the tools that I'm giving the girls. And I was a little bit afraid, because I was like, okay, I'm going to have this amazing, awesome, spectacular camp, but I only have 3 hours with them. Like, what's going to happen when they leave? And for them to be able to like start picking that up, that makes me super happy and excited, because I'm like, okay, they're getting it and they're able to kind of reference back. But again, like, we have some next steps as well with your team, is getting them more consistent after high school season comes to an end. So I'm excited about that opportunity to keep it consistent.
And it's funny how you mentioned that, you know, working on more of the physical parts of the game, where we're kind of working a little bit and changing our directions a little bit towards the team practices of the mind aspects of the game. Because I think it's very, very important that the girls, you know, how they look and how they feel has a lot to do on their performance on the ball field.
Yeah,
being on the diamond.
I know it kind of sounds corny when we say like, well, you got to feel good to play good, but it's kind of true, especially for girls. I don't know why, but we gotta like feel good, think good things in order to perform the way that we want to. So
Yes,
yeah,
it's
for
very
sure.
important. And me as a male coach, I never took that into perspective, um, being on the diamond or, you know, in practice settings with my players.
Hmm.
And that's what I really want to start developing. I could tell you this right now. Our first 2 games on Sunday was air free.
Wow,
Yeah. And I
that's
think we only had
awesome.
2 airs total, and that was in the semifinals. Yeah. And, you know, we turned our first, um, 6-4-1 double play, and then darn near turned a triple play on Saturday.
That's sweet.
I think the umpire made the wrong call at the plate, you know, for calling the girl safe. But it was a catch, um,
Uh-huh.
a diving catch from our right fielder who got up, threw the girl out at first, who advanced before, and then my first baseman threw it home because the
Hmm.
girl actually delayed still on the way home, and we nailed her. But again, the umpire didn't agree.
Yeah. I think that just kind of shows you like what happens when you forget of when you are able to understand that like the mistakes are okay and the you don't have control over the results and the outcomes, which I talk a lot about with the girls that I work with, and how if you just have that kind of mindset, you can go out there and hit the go button and do really awesome things like turn double plays and not make a bunch of mistakes in the first 2 games, actually none of them, right? So
Yeah,
that's like the magic that happens when you're able to trust yourself and build that confidence and use some of those tools that we talked about at camp.
yeah, and we had one. Actually, it was our first game on Sunday. Bases loaded with no outs, and they retired the side and no runs scored.
That's awesome.
It was pretty impressive, very impressive.
So cool. Sweet. Well, thank you so much for
No, Eggs, thank
just
you.
answering some of these questions and sharing with the rest of the coaches out there that might be like, I don't know, you know,
No, I mean,
and getting past those fears of letting somebody else come in and teach their girls. So I really appreciate
exactly.
that.
You know, I'm really looking forward on our working relationship and um, the opportunity for my girls in the future, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Awesome.